brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking hosts, the good old boys. Suds. It's time for more Suds.
Hello and welcome to this Suds segment. This is good old boy Mike, and this is a Suds segment where everything good in life is worth discussing. I am one of your hosts today, good old boy Mike. Joining me for this segment is going to be Reverend Mark.
Good afternoon.
Good old boy Dave.
Hey everyone.
And Pegleg Julieanna.
Hi, folks.
She's been walking around with a peg leg. I had to throw that in. It's good old gal Julieanna joining us for this show. Great to have the gang back together again for this Sud segment where we talk about beer, and definitely more beer. Today's show is a Brewery Takeover episode. We'll be talking about beer from one brewery today, and that is going to be Dogfish Head. And we're going to review the Ancient Ale series that we're going to get to over. So I know that all of you have really enjoyed these beers, and this is a very unique set of beers. The beers that we're actually going to go over today are, and I'm going to butcher the name of these, so please feel free to write in and let me know how I've butchered the name of all. But the first one is Kvasir. That's spelled Kvasir. I think the K is silent. The next one is Chateau Jiahu. Urkontinent is the next one, and Birra, Etrusca, Bronze are the beers that we're going to go over today. So I'm going to have one of our guest hosts gets the honors. Julieanna today is going to tell us about our Suds ratings that we'll be using as we're talking about these beers.
So, we'll be tasting and discussing these beers and rating them with the Suds ratings plus our signature farting sounds. Here are those ratings now. Number 1, that sucks. Give me anything but a bud. Number 2, was that a belch? Number 3, what a relief. Number 4, a body should really not make that sound.
She sounds like she's reading a children's book. And on the next page, boys and girls, we're going to have the bad belching Scotchman. And number 5.
We should be that lucky. Number 5. Listen to that hang time. Give me another.
The bad belching Scotchman.
Nice.
Okay, boys and girls. It's library time today. So those are belching sounds. I'm sorry. They're not farting sounds. I actually wrote that wrong. So anyway, but those are our Suds ratings here in Sip, Suds, and Smokes. And today we're going to have just a little bit of time to talk about something rather important.
The mail's here.
That's right. You right. We answer. How about that? Thanks for dropping us a couple of notes, and I wanted to take a moment to answer a few emails from our listeners. First up is going to be Josh, who dropped us a note on our Facebook page. Thank you, Josh, for doing that. I appreciate it. It was great to exchange a little bit of email with you. I'm not going to share everybody what your last name or where you're from, because you asked, when are there going to be more smoke shows? Well, I want to thank you for asking the question, and it has been a little bit of a challenge to record some of our smoke shows, and we are definitely recording more smoke shows. In fact, I'm happy to say that I actually have several that will be broadcasting here in the not-too-distant future. CJ and I were able to hook up one of our, I call him the Master of Smokes. He calls himself the Master of Strokes. But anyway, so... Thinking that's not true.
Yeah.
And boys and girls, he is the Master of Strokes. Okay. So anyway, it was great to hear from Josh, and we definitely have more smokes and sip shows both coming up, and I look forward to broadcasting all those. So thanks for dropping us a note. Next note that I got was actually from Alice, and Alice dropped me a note, and she said, when are you guys going to do a white wine show? We've done several red wine shows, but we've not done a white one. You know, we have been talking about doing one, and I've been looking for the right topic, Alice, for us to do a white wine show. I've been kind of, usually I tend to think of white wines either in terms of being sweet and buttery, a bit more Chardonnay, or extremely dry like Sauvignon Blancs. So I'm really kind of on the fence about exactly, what style we're going to go for, to talk about. I'll probably confer with some of our co-hosts that do the wine segments with me, and we'll pick one out. But we will have a couple of white wine shows coming up to broadcast in the near future. So if you have some preference about the type of white wines you'd love to hear about, drop us a note anytime at info@Sips, Suds, and Smokes. All right, so that does it for our mail call for today. So let's talk about these beers. They're all from Dogfish Head, which is in Delaware. And Sam and the crew have been brewing some great beers for quite a while. This is a very interesting line that we're talking about. Now, there are a few beers in this line that we're not going to be discussing today because they are no longer available, or they're very hard to locate, or we basically chose to limit our discussion for the sake of time more than anything. What's the point of discussing something if you'll never find it as well? In 1995, Dogfish Head broke the shackles and started brewing extreme, exotic, extraordinary beers. They experimented with whatever ingredients were found in the Dogfish Head brewery pantry, things like chicory, licorice root, maple syrup, honey, pumpkin, raisins, brown sugar. I hope it wasn't rat poison. These beers were much like their marketing slogan, which is they were off-center brews for rather off-centered individuals. So it turns out that the ones that they were making were traditional beers all along. About 4 years later, Dogfish Head, in 1999, started working closely with Dr. Patrick McGovern, one of the world's leading expert on ancient beverages. He helped Dogfish Head uncover the traditions of ancient brewers, and like Dogfish Head, these ancient brewers made the most of the ingredients that they had on hand, and their beers were as colorful and creative as their cultures. I'm thinking some cultures could use a little less beer like the state of Alabama, for the most part. I got like this thing going through my head. Yo, honey, could you toss me another cold one? Because this Daisy Dukes are smoking hot on you. That's not quite the culture I think we're talking about, but anyway. The first ancient beers. I know you guys are about to cut me off already, aren't you? It's just barely into this. The first ancient beer was created by Dr. Pat. It was called Midas Touch. It's somewhere between wine and mead, and Midas Touch is based on a molecular evidence found in a Turkish tomb believed to have belonged to King Midas. It's a sweet yet dry beer made with honey, white muscat grapes, and saffron. This is a beer we won't be reviewing today, but it is actually widely available, so you should be able to find that one if you're interested.
It's very good. Very good.
I've had it too, and I think it's more mead than beer for me, or more mead than wine. It's very sweet. So the next beer that they made was Chateau Jiahu, which is we are going to talk about this today. The ingredients were unearthed from a 9,000-year-old tomb in China. It's made from hawthorn fruit, sake rice, barley, and honey. Chateau Jiahu is the oldest known fermented beverage in history. That's right, all you beer trivia nerds, beer is older than wine. So this is actually in our lineup today, and I don't know about you guys, but I look forward to chatting about that one.
Absolutely.
Theobroma, a celebration of chocolate, was the next Dogfish Head collaboration with Dr. Pat. It was based on the chemical analysis of a 3,000-year-old pottery fragment found in Honduras. I don't know about you guys, but your pantry, but I got some Tupperware with some leftover, chicken salad from a distant relative from 5 years ago, and I can't think of anything that I'd like out of that Tupperware bowl whatsoever. So,
well, give it another few hundred years,
an ancient chicken salad.
Yeah.
So, Aunt Martha's little chicken salad brought to you by the people from 4,000 years ago. Theobroma is brewed with artisanal you guys are going to have me. Escanos, cocoa, honey, chilies, and annatto. This is not in our lineup today, but many of us have had this wonderful beer. I've even had this beer on tap. It is really good.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
And I think that's a pretty accurate description. I think of it as a very cocoa laden, a little bit sweet. It's halfway in between. It's that porter stout, bridge, between the two.
A little touch of heat from the chili, just barely though.
Well, I remember it as being kind of earthy, as well, and that's the reason why it kind of separated itself from a lot of things in that in porter category, because it just wasn't clean enough to be there. But a great beer, and one of the few beers that I've seen out of this series on tap, and so. The next one is Tahaket. Dogfish used ingredients plucked from the Egyptian hieroglyphics. Dogfish Head started with an ancient form of wheat and loaves of hearth-baked bread. Hello. Any day now, Mike. I'm going to get with it. All right. Let's see. Hearth-baked bread and added chamomile, dom palm fruit, and Middle Eastern herbs. To ferment Tahaket, they even captured a native Egyptian yeast strain from the night era of Cairo.
So you can just see like Sam from Dogfish Head running around like all around the pyramids and stuff with a butterfly neck. Yeast.
I think that's exactly how that went.
Only at night, too, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. The yeast
what are you doing, Mr.
Yeah.
American? Get back inside. Shoot him.
Only Sam can get away with that, though.
And I mean, what would you call that yeast strain? I mean, it's something like King Tut's crotch rot. I don't know what you would call that yeast strain.
I think you'd have a hard time.
Night of the desert air.
You'd have a hard time marketing that, though. I think
an idiot's yeast in paradise.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know what you call it, yeast. Anyway, so I look forward to talking more about that beer. Another beer they have in this lineup is Birra Etrusca Bronze. It proves that the wine on every Italian's dinner table, there should be also a place for beer. The backbone of this 2,800-year-old recipe comes from a two-row malted barley, and a very common ingredient, even in beers today, and heirloom Italian wheat. The specialty ingredients includes hazelnut flour. That's pretty wild. I've never heard of that. Pomegranates, Italian chestnut honey, Delaware wildflower honey, and clover honey. I don't think there was Delaware wildflower honey in Italy, but anyway. A handful of whole flower hops are added, but the bulk of the bitterness comes from the Jatan root. Do you think that's it? And the sarsaparilla, like Ethiopian myrrh resin. So we look forward to going through that beer today. The last one is a brand new beer that's been added to the Ancient Ale series, and it's from Nordic climes of Scandinavia. This recipe of Kvasir, that's how we're going to say it today, was developed with the help of a chemical, botanical, and pollen evidence taken from a 3,500-year-old Danish drinking vessel. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've been out on my boat, and there's not one thing that I want to taste even from 1 week to the next on a boat. Was that Bubba's leftover spit in that Solo cup?
Well, here's the difference is that this was from a birch bark drinking vessel.
Even worse.
So if you were putting your beer...
Yo, Heinrich, please stir that with your other finger.
Exactly.
The one you didn't stick in your ear.
Your other toe or something. Yeah.
Right. Danish drinking vessels were definitely a model of hygiene.
Exactly.
So, anyway... the vessel was made of birch bark, which was found in the tomb of a leather-clad woman Dr. Pat says was probably an upper-class dancer or priestess. Now, I'm thinking ancient beer for a Nordic strip club. I mean,
Oh, Henrik, could you pass me around a good beer?
Olga is looking very good tonight here in the dance club, the dance hall. I mean, it's like, where do they come up with this? The analysis pointed to ingredients in this unique brew: wheat, lingonberries, cranberries, Myrica Gale. I have no idea what that is. And yarrow, honey, and birch syrup are the ingredients in that. So those are the beers that we're going to get over today. And so it was great to give you some background around the Ancient Ale series. If you'd like some more information about these beers, I'm sure you can read up on a lot of different websites. There's a lot of great information through the Dogfish website as well on these beers as well. All right, so let's get to the beers we're going to get to today. The first beer we're going to talk about is going to be Kvasir, is the first beer that we're going to go through. And so this beer, let me tell you a little bit about it. It is tart, I can tell you that for sure. It's a herbaceous hybrid Scandinavian grog, the newest lineup in the Ancient Ale series, and we talked about the ingredients of lingonberries, cranberries, birch syrup, and herbs. The ABV on this is 10%. And if you don't know a whole lot about the Dogfish distribution model, it has been a bit of a mystery. It's been rather select. I know we're all kind of chuckling because we're both a victim and a fan. They're mainly on the East Coast and on the West Coast, and finding them in the Southeast U.S. and in the Midwest is a bit of a challenge. So they're expanding capacity and their distribution as well. So it seems like it's taking forever. I mean, both for me to get through all of this as well as for the beer to get to me. So finding them outside of the U.S. is nearly impossible. I mean, I'm sorry, but you're just not going to find this outside the U.S. And unless you're shipping it, directly to yourself, you're not going to go down to the local pub and find a lot of definitely the beers we're talking about today. But it's just one of those things about Dogfish's distribution model. The great irony is that today we're actually recording in the Dude in the Basement studio, which is actually in Nashville, Tennessee, and he can't find any of these beers in the state right now. So Dogfish was here in Tennessee, then they left, and we would love for them to come back. So
they're supposed to be.
I know. It keeps on being talk, though. I like the beer. Less talk would be great.
Everything we are tasting today has been beer muled into the state.
Well, it's been acquired over time, and a lot of tenacious beer hunting and good friends of the show also have sent a couple of these beers in as well. So I'm really grateful that we get to taste these. So back to Kvasir here. So, up first, Reverend Mark, what do you think about Kvasir?
I really, for a 10% beer, it really kind of just bowled me over. I think if I had a full pint of it, I would be convinced. It didn't have much of the warming effect, but that's not a bad statement on the overall impression of this really tart and slightly acidic beer that incorporated some of the traditional sort of hop malt balance that you're looking for in any kind of beer that calls itself beer, but that was very much peripheral, which is fine because I know this is kind of an ancient experiment. When I started thinking about where's the lingonberry, that's a really very subtle kind of fruit, so I don't know that I picked up on that.
And a little bit bitter, too.
Yeah, it's a little bitter. It is the lingonberry is. And like birch syrup, perhaps it's in there. So
4 teaspoons.
I think it makes. I think this whole series makes for just a fascinating read. And
I feel like I'm in a Whole Foods story.
Yeah.
At times, right?
Yeah. But as far as my palate is concerned, I thought it was a really good tart. Though it was a big beer, it finished a little bit on the kind of semi-dry side for me. So it was great. Great in terms of what this series purports to be.
So what's your SUDS rating?
But I would give it a 3 overall, actually.
3? How about that? Yeah. What a relief is 3. Cool. Good old boy Dave, what do you think about Kvasir here?
Well, I'm kind of on the same wavelength as Mark, that I feel like these beers, one of the main things about them is they're a good history lesson on beer. how to use ingredients that are all around you and put them into beers, and how different people did that. And that's sort of the commonality of beer, is that you go walk out into your yard, grab some stuff, throw it in, and that's what you get, after it ferments out. I did get a lot of cranberry.
I don't think you've seen the dogs in my neighborhood.
Hey, I've drank worse. Trust me. But you'd be surprised what people put in beer, man. But anyways, I thought it finished fairly dry, not overly so much. I did get some of the honey, and I got a lot of the cranberry out of it. Those were the sort of the dominant features to me. I thought it was good. I wouldn't drink a lot of it all the time, but it's a good beer to share with people and have around. I think that was probably the original intent of this kind of beer. So as far as my SUDS rating, I would also give it a 3.
Oh, what a relief. Good old gal Julieanna, what do you think about Kvasir here?
I thought it was a very interesting beer, and like Mark, I was rather surprised to hear that it was a 10% beer, because it didn't feel that way to me. A bit sour, and very tart, but maybe it's because of my northern palate. I was able to discern the birch syrup in it. So I got some.
I'm sorry. That was the wrong button.
Whatever.
I think it was the right button. Trust your instincts,
anyways.
Mike. Trust your instincts.
I know I did get the birch in it, and also me being a fan of Scottish ales as well as Scotch in general. I did pick up the Gale too, because Gale is produced in peaty bogs. It's a shrub, and you get that little peaty astringency, and it was there in that. So I could appreciate this beer for what it was.
So what's your SUDS rating on this?
I'm giving it a 3 as well.
3 as well. Oh, what a relief. Well, great beer for us to start with here. My tasting notes are, I thought it was very tart. It was a bit dry. I thought the berry part of this was kind of reserved. And I think that was one of the things I was a little concerned about when I was reading through the ingredients, is it was just going to be a great raspberry lingonberry bomb. And I think one of the other beers we've had, which really came to my mind, was Reserva from Weyerbacher. And I thought it was going to be very similar in style to that. I thought it was going to be very much along that same profile, with maybe a couple of bit earthy tones to it, but vastly different. Than both those are great beers. I love Reserva, and I thought this was a great beer as well. But I'm probably a bit more fan of sour beers than tart beers, and this is definitely tart. But I have the same rating as well, 3. What a relief. So next up in our lineup here is to talk about Chateau Jiahu. This beer was the beer that was resurrected from ancient China some 9,000 years ago. Some of the key ingredients, just to remind you: rice, honey, grape, and hawthorn fruits were some of the ingredients that are in this as well. The ABV on this is 9% as well. Again, some of the same distribution that we've talked about for Dogfish overall. The declared, I don't know that there's a declared style for this, but anyway, let's go through this as well. Reverend Mark, what do you think about Chateau Jiahu?
Well, this is today, as we kind of contemplate beer and the season that we're getting into. Has been a hot day for me, at least, working outdoors. So, of the beers that we've been sampling so far, I like this in the sense that it was kind of a semi-sweet. I thought kind of a Chardonnay type, like hint of white grape that was really right on the front end. It finished slightly sweet, but not overly, and kind of a clean malt that must have been buffered by the rice, that was part of the grist. As I, kind of looked into the history of this beer and, some of the herbs that were introduced, hawthorn in particular kind of stood out. It is supposedly an ancient medicine that is good for treating high and low blood pressure. Well, okay, I'll buy another case of that.
Yep, I'll take the beer and the Lipitor, please.
Yeah. high cholesterol as well as tapeworm. So,
I don't think that works.
Wow.
Thank God.
Hey, do you have any beer for tapeworm there? Boy, talk about stump the chump moment. Holy cow.
All of these beers that we're talking about this afternoon kind of defy, sort of an absolute judgment because they're really kind of free floating. They're not really tied to a.
Please don't use the word free floating and tapeworm in the same physical sentence. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry about that. My indelicate remarks. But overall, I liked it. I thought it was a really good spring afternoon libation. So I'll give it a 3.
3. What a relief. Good old boy Dave, what do you think of Chateau Jiahu?
Well, while we've been talking about the other beers and stuff, the samples we have been warming up and everything, and I liked this beer a lot when I first had it, and now that it's sort of warmed up and a lot of the carbonation's gone out, and I'm going to rely on Reverend Mark here to make sure I pronounce this right. There's a type of mead called a piment. The one with...
I thought you were going to ask him how to say the word tapeworm.
I'll just refer back. We'll just roll back the tape a little bit. But it's the type of mead that's made with grapes.
Right.
And this really kind of reminds me of that because I get a lot of the honey blended with the grape flavor, and that's kind of what it feels like to me, especially as it's warmed up.
That's a really good analogy. I think it is close to a piment, and I'm a big mead maker, and I haven't really ventured in that direction of incorporating malt into my meads. But yeah, I think that's it's very much on the cusp.
Sort of a braggot meets piment kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but I really liked it. It's sweet, but it's not cloyingly sweet to me. It's fairly easy drinking. This is actually one that I really enjoyed. And I gave it a SUDS rating of 4.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. Good old gal, Julieanna, what did you think of Chateau Jiahu?
Out of the 4 that we tasted today, this definitely was my favorite. And for similar reasons. For those that have never tried sake and were interested in trying it, this would be, to me, the perfect way of introducing yourself to sake before you actually go to the restaurant and have it, because I got a lot of sake notes out of it, but it's a sweeter end of that. This is like my grandmother's sake, for that matter.
Your grandmother made sake?
I was just going to ask that. She never served me any.
Well, we could try that later.
I feel like I've had a depraved childhood.
I've heard the word tapeworm.
Deprived rather than depraved.
I've heard the word tapeworm and grandmother's sake in the same sentence. Conversation. I can't.
My grandmother made pies and stuff. But
I don't know what your grandmother's making.
My grandmother was a bootlegger, I guess, or something.
Yo, Grandma, you got some good sake today?
Yeah, exactly.
Would you like some bacon with that?
Come on in, have some cookies and sake.
Well, everybody's got to have a hobby.
I know, right? Okay. But, I mean, in all seriousness, I really enjoy the flavor of this. I got the sake taste, I got the fruit, I got the honey, and it's a good light drinking beer, especially on a nice warm day like today. So, for this, I really dug it, and I give it a 4.
A 4? A body should really not make that sound. My tasting notes for Chateau Jiahu, you know what? The first thing I wrote down was, other than clearing my throat, sweet honey, great carbonation, and you're right, it has gone rather flat quick, Dave. And it's gotten a lot sweeter as it's warmed up as well. I mean, this is approaching like pure honeysuckle, and I love the comparison to mead as well. I wrote down this is a great chick beer. I mean, I think hands down, if I had a group of women that were not traditional beer drinkers, I like Chardonnay. That's all I like. And they would say, "I want a beer. This is it.
Yeah.
This is a gateway beer."
Yeah, it is.
Especially people that do like things that are a bit on the sweeter side. This is not boat beer, which is our series coming up soon on Sips, Suds, and Smokes. But this is really a great beer to throw in the mix and really trip people up about as well. I thought it was really great. I know I'm going to consume all the sample I have of this today. I know we're going to. In fact, when I picked up all the beers, you guys all taste them a little bit before me. That was the bottle that was empty. When I almost got to it, so that told me right off the bat you guys liked it, and I did as well. My suds rating is 4 for this as well. Body should not really make that sound. So we like this beer all the way around. So really great. It was good to put that in the mix. Next up is going to be Dogfish Head Urkontinent. And this beer is more of a Belgian double. It begins with a Pilsner, and Munich and chocolate malts are added, along with a Belgian dark candy syrup. So I read that, and I'm like, oh my god, this thing's going to taste like a candy bar. A malted candy bar. A lot of this is in the Ancient Ale series as well. Although this tends to trace its roots back more with ingredients from Africa than within the European proper as well. So think of this as an ancient Belgian double is the best way I could describe getting into this as well. The ABV on this is 8%. Again, the distribution on this is very much the same with all the other beers that we've talked about as well today. Reverend Mark, what do you think about Urkontinent?
What? Okay.
Wow.
Hello, Reverend Mark.
Yes.
Major Tom. We're talking about Urkontinent.
Oh, you're talking about the beer. Okay.
We may have to turn his mic off.
Beer steward, please bring more beers to table number 6.
I really like the. It wasn't heavy-handed, but there was kind of a malt molasses aspect to it that, the molasses kind of trailed off. It was for the ABV. I felt as though it was in balance, not overly sweet. There was an aromatic quality that was subtle, a little roasty. The malt sugar really set the tone. But I think really what commends this ancient kind of malt beer is how the bittering is accomplished through the use of this Gale. That is, I didn't really get that hops were counterbalancing the sweet in any way. That it was a very interesting kind of combination of these herbs. So I really liked it a lot. I have to say that of the beers that we were talking about this session, this was my favorite of the 4. So I would give it a 4.
How about that? A body should really not make that sound. Good old boy Dave, what do you think about Urkontinent from Dogfish Head?
Well, what's funny is when they first made this beer, the name was Urkontinent. And,
and that's what I thought you were saying to me.
Right, and it threw a lot of people off,
Let me get this straight. We've said the word tapeworm and incontinent in the same conversation. Wow, man.
Yeah. So you're not going to sell a lot of beer.
Aisle 16, please.
Exactly. So, anyway.
Back to the beer.
This is another one, though, I have to say, as it's warmed up, I really enjoyed the flavor more. And I think if more people out there, when you're tasting new beers, make sure that you give it time to warm up, especially the first time you have it, so that you can experience the whole flavor palette. It was a little spicy for me, especially when it was colder. It mellowed out quite a bit. But I did enjoy the chocolate and the roastiness of it, so I gave it a 3.
A 3. Ah, what a relief. Good old girl, Julieanna, what do you think about you are incontinent?
Excuse me?
Man.
Still early. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it more as it warmed up. Again, initially I got the Belgian flavors, I got the candy syrup, I got that molassesy kind ofness, and then as it warmed...
Is that a real word? Molassiness?
In Pennsylvania.
It's a Pennsylvania word. Whatever. So, as it warmed up, though, I got the tea flavors out of it, and I got a more spicy herbaliness.
Molassesiness.
Molasses was gone. The herbaliness was in.
I think you need to give your son's rating.
3.
Ah, what a relief. I think that says it all right there. My tasting notes around Urkontinent were, it was very sweet caramel. But it had kind of an earthy quality to it as well. I thought it was approaching cola, and was kind of in that space in between a porter and a stout.
Right.
But it had kind of some roasting qualities, that were about it as well. And so, probably I can say that I would go back probably to a traditional porter over having this, and probably having I can think of doubles that I would have that I would probably prefer over this. So it kept on getting sweeter and sweeter. Definitely as the temperature went down on it as well. So I will give the Urkontinent 3. Ah, what a relief. Ooh. All right, next up is the last beer we're going to talk about in the Ancient Ale series, which is Dogfish Head Birra Etrusca Bronze. This was a beer from Italy. Most of the ingredients were traced back to ancient Italy in 800 BC. This was a beer that had a lot of ingredients. Honey, chestnut, wildflower, clover were some of the things in this particular... this was just classified as a traditional ale. The ABV on this is 8.5%, I believe, if I'm reading that correctly. Reverend Mark, what did you think of the Etrusca Bronze here? Birra Etrusca Bronze.
Well, as I kind of read up on this beer myself, there's a whole lot of ancient lore to wow the consumer. But at the end of the day, it's a fairly simple, straightforward, strong ale. And I think it does tease the nose with an array of fruit and flower and herb that, it's clearly, a complex beer, but... I didn't find it to be as layered as I would have expected with the description that I perused. Although I'd say that even though this is attributed to the ancient Italy, for whatever reason I'm picking up some Indian palm sugar in this. It has that Indian kind of just this I've used palm sugar in other beers, and it just kind of has a little bit of that as well. So I thought it was a very interesting beer. I have to say that it still hits the middle of the road for me at about a 3.
Ah, what a relief. Good old boy Dave, what did you think of the Birra Etrusca Bronze?
This beer reminded me of a soup where you just throw a ton of ingredients into the pot. Right. And instead of building a complex flavor, a lot of the things just some things overwhelm other things, and some other things just cancel each other out. I'm not a big fan of this beer. I really think the pomegranate juice overruns everything in the flavor.
It has as it's warmed up, definitely.
Yeah, it's gotten worse. Sorry.
Ouch.
Or it's gotten stronger. Let me just say that. So this is not something.
Is there any tapeworm in this whatsoever?
I think my tapeworm left when I drank this, so it worked in that capacity. But I gave this beer a 2.
Was that a belch? Good old gal Julieanna, what did you think of the Birra Etrusca Bronze?
Yeah, I hate to say that I'm in the same camp as Dave, but I am. Especially as it warmed. No, especially as it warmed
She says
up.
that with love.
Because initially I just got this toffiness and this herbaliness that wasn't bad, but as it warmed up, it's now more. It's sour and it's pungent with the pomegranate and the hazelnuts and a lot of clover is coming out and hitting me now. And so, in terms of a blend, I just don't feel like it's been blended well in all of those layers. So for this, I'm giving it a 2.
A 2. Was it a belch? This beer is, hopefully I'm tasting the right one. It is more sour than tart. And I love Dave's description. It's a bit of a kitchen sink. And I remember the first time I had this was actually in a tasting, and I had it at the same time I had Noble Rot, which is another beer from Dogfish Head. We're not reviewing it today. And I remember having both those side by side, and I had this overwhelming feeling of what has gone horribly wrong. And I really, it was one of those times where I felt the engineering of the beer had outstripped the artisanship of making something that tastes good.
Right.
I had some of the same reaction, when I had Noble Rot at the same time. Part of it is I don't think that I was really accustomed to drinking things like Noble Rot at the time. I've gone back and I do enjoy that beer now, but this beer is definitely one of the ones in the Ancient Ale series that it's which one of the things is not like the other, and this is it, for me in terms of saying, gee. So I hate to say it, but my SUDS rating is actually going to be a 1 for this. That sucks. Give me anything but a bud. And I'm sorry, but I thought it sucks. So there are a lot of great beers from Dogfish Head, and I'm sorry that just was not one of the ones that I particularly cared for. But it's tough to wind up on a sour note, pun intended. For that. So, a really great lineup that we got to go through today. I appreciate the chance for us to go through all these beers. Dogfish makes a lot of great beer.
Yes.
They really do.
No doubt.
They probably make, I don't know how many beers they have in their lineup, but it's probably well north of 60 different beers. We just chose one of the particular series to talk about today. Any of these beers that you guys would go back to?
The Chateau Jiahu.
Yeah.
I would definitely go get some of that.
Yeah. I think if there's any left, we'll probably go out and grab some right after this, right?
Yeah, I'm with Dave on that for today. Yeah. Just chill it down first, though.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, great stuff, everybody. Let's wrap up our SUDS episode for today. I want to thank all of our listeners for Sip, Suds, and Smokes. You can catch all of our episodes online on iTunes, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, Uncle John's Basement, and Spreaker, our native media host, our terrestrial radio station host. What are you looking at? Yes, there's no such thing as Uncle John's Basement. Nobody's picked that up. I'm reading this so fast. I'm just waiting for somebody sending a note going, where's Uncle John's Basement? I can't find that online. Anyway, listen, our terrestrial radio station hosts are always expanding. I'm really happy to welcome a brand new group that have picked up our show, and so I really welcome all of that group. A lot of community radio stations have picked us up, so if you'd like to hear this show on your favorite radio station, send them a note and copy us as well. You can reach us online anytime at info@sipsudsandsmokes.com. Our daily tasting notes flow out on Twitter every day. Our handle is @SipSudSmokes. Our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of great news from all of our hosts. Listen, do us a favor. You didn't have to pay anything to listen to the show today, but take the time to rate this episode if you're listening to us online. That's a really big help to us, and we get to see your feedback as well. We'll mention the word tapeworm if you give us a 5 or high rate. I want to thank all of my discussing hosts today for joining me for the show on Ancient Ales. Most of all, I want to thank first Reverend Mark.
May the medicinal forces of beer be with you.
That's good. It's getting there. You'll find a good tagline yet. Good old boy Dave, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Drink more beer.
Good old gal Julieanna.
Cheers and go Hawks.
So, again, thank you for joining us. This is Good Old Man Mike, and I'm going to ask you to keep on sipping.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sips, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see y'all next time.